welcome to Musicians Talk. I have invited 4 of my favorite pianists that I've worked with throughout the time that I'm playing. Guus Janssen is the pianist that I know for the longest time, I think. I think the first time we played together was in Maarten Altena's ensemble. Long time ago.
1980, I think.
Something like that.
82, maybe.
A bit later than that.
82,
I only
maybe.
started to play trumpet when I was in 1980 or something like that.
Yeah. You just started to play.
Yeah, it was very...
That's what I remember.
I was very green at the time. I know. And one day the phone rang and Michiel Braam called me whether I wanted to join his big band, and he came in his father's car to my house with a big car anyway.
It's impossible. A
Talbot.
I've had my own car since I was 18.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe. I thought it was your father's car, but you impressed me with a big
It looked
car.
like his father's car.
And he brought me scores for his program Revisiewerk. No, de Parkeermeterfabriek.
Yeah.
It was called
Yes.
at the time, which he revised later, and then we recorded it.
Yes.
On a record called Howley. This was 1987, something like that.
Yes, I guess 88.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Fast forward about 12 years, I was playing concerts in the Bimhuis and wherever in Amsterdam, and there was this young face. That happens to be Oscar Jan Hoogland, who came to all the concerts that I went to and that I played. I seem to remember.
Yes.
He did not miss one concert, and in the early 2000s he invited me to, or he helped organize a week on improvisation at the conservatorium in Utrecht. And we have been in contact ever since. And fast forward another 10 years, I think, it was Marta Warelis who came here in Amsterdam from Groningen, where you studied the piano, and we have played ever since together. I'm curious to know how, Michiel, how you started to play improvised music, creative music. What is the background of that?
Well, it was simply the teacher at my music school in Nijmegen, who was playing jazz music. And I had a few years of classical piano, I think 2.
How old were you?
I was, when I was playing the piano, I think something like 12.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I had classical lessons from 12 to 14, and then at 14 I started having lessons from a jazz pianist, Rudy Veenstra. And he played the real book inside out, so I learned all those tunes. So that was my beginning of my improvised music.
Right.
And I remember also before that, already at the age of 12, 13, while having classical piano lessons, I was also recording a lot. So I still have tapes from back then, and I improvise, and I also try to manipulate the tapes, etc., and record myself over all other tapes, etc. Very interesting to hear that, because I don't really think you really change. You develop.
No.
You don't change.
You are who you are.
You don't change at all. Yeah.
You don't change at all. You don't do that.
No, you develop yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
All the ideas back then are exactly the same as the ideas now.
How was that for you, Guus? Where did you?
I remember an uncle that could play very well Pim Jacobs kind of music. And I didn't understand it at all.
Pim Jacobs is a great jazz pianist.
He was really a swing cat.
Yeah.
And I was standing next to the piano. How is this guy doing it? I didn't understand it. So I tried to, because I liked that too, so I tried to do things like that. But for me, it still feels as one of the most possible behaviors.
Right.
You can play jazz music. I'm a performer in the end. First teacher, he asked me at a certain moment, what do you want to what is your dream for later? And then I said, I didn't understand the question. I want to be a musician. That was my answer. And then he said, okay, then you have to do, from now on we do counterpoint, we do harmony, we do analysis, classical forms, but also you have to play the organ. Because then you know how to deal with the accompanying things, and that was also, I improvised from the beginning. I think I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
I played a lot on the organ too.
Yeah.
And then I went to the conservatoire to study classical piano and composition.
Right. All in.
And I finished everything. And then that's something I maybe still regret, that I probably frustrated my teacher. I had lessons with Jaap Spaanderman.
Mm.
And he had a dream with me. He wanted me to go to London to go on with my study, to become a concert pianist. And when I finished my exam, I played like the second piano concerto of Brahms, all this stuff. The Opus 111 by Beethoven, beautiful. But then I quit it suddenly. But I went into improvisation only and composition.
Right.
And I never spoke about that with him, which is maybe a bit... I think it was a mistake. I should have had a conversation about that with the guy, but...
You did. And it's too late now.
It's too late because he doesn't live anymore.
Right, exactly.
But he was a great teacher, really.
How did you get to improvisation, Oscar Jan? From a background you have.
So
you mentioned it, that your father was...
Fortepiano. He played the fortepiano, his father.
Yeah,
yes, but also modern contemporary music. But by the time I was born, it was rather classical. So a lot of pianos in the house. That was very nice. They've always been around me.
Like a museum.
Yes, and my first dream was to become a piano builder, because I really liked the workshed of the piano builder Paul McNulty. He used to have this room full of half-constructed pianos, 2 birds flying around, and then the smell of wood. And he would have classical guitar music by Bach played, but then so loud that he could hear it with the ear protection for the machines. So that's the room you enter. It's full of the smell of wood and pianos that are half, and then birds flying around, and then Bach even louder than that. So and the improvised part for me, it was really like the world where you come home. I've been always guided by interest, by things that interest me, like explore and try to get as interested as possible. So that makes you go in different paths. But for me, in high school, it was playing guitar, playing didgeridoo, playing piano, playing everything actually, and playing the drums. Then you don't get very good at anything, but you do have this explorative sense. And then at a certain point, I thought, okay, I do want to go and study this jazz piano. I hope to go to the conservatory. And that was in high school late, but I thought at that time that was the only kind of creative education that there was, that had a big depth to it. It was either jazz or classical music, and I didn't want to play other people's music. So I wanted to explore my own thing. So I went to do the jazz school, but it was a bit of a miracle I was accepted there, because I wasn't a good piano player. I was interested in a lot of things, and I made nice things, so I think that's what got me in. But then when I saw all these concerts in Amsterdam of the improvised music, something else came close that I was very good in at that point. In high school we did all this debating, and I even did it on on the Dutch television for a while. There was Jongerenlagerhuis.
Oh yeah.
So that was something I was actually good at.
Parliament for youths.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not something that's very good for your character, but to get it is difference of making a good point and actually having a conversation, or you can become a bit of a game warrior in the debate. But that thing has fascinated me, how conversations go and how you can make a point in the strategy and also exaggerating your point, making it into absurd proportions to stretch the debate to one side, and that you can evoke what you think and other people evoke what they think, and then you meet in the middle, not necessarily asking them, but kind of a forward way of being in a conversation. Yeah. And in this music that I found in Amsterdam, being played in places like Zaal 100 mostly at that time, and also here in Bimhuis, there was a music that kind of did that, where you could hear the people think, and you could sometimes also hear why something didn't work, why a group didn't work. Every week you go to Zaal 100 and there's a different ad hoc group playing, and some of them are terrible, but it doesn't mean that there's, for your curiosity, the music can be terrible, but it's like, why is this so terrible? So for me that was a place, improvised music, where these two worlds came, and I felt like here I am at home. I've got something to say. And I think the piano has a big relation to it, since it's such an overview instrument, and it's a big object, so there's a lot to work on. You can develop the language on the keys, you can develop the language inside.
Yeah. Came to Groningen.
Yes. So before that, I went to study at the university in Wrocław. And when I was going there, I already knew that I want to learn about jazz. Like, I was really hooked. And so I found this little school. It was not a conservatory, nothing like that. It was called like a school of entertainment music, something like this. Jazz
in Rostov. Where was
in
that?
Wrocław.
Rostov. Mm-hmm.
And this was really nice, because it was a bunch of young people, I mean, in different ages, just wanting to learn about jazz. Mm-hmm. And so I started playing, just discovering through playing. And there were some nice musicians that were teaching there also.
Right.
I learned different things from different people. And just this fact that you're surrounded by this kind of music was just like a starting point for me. So after a few years, I quit the university. Yeah. I thought like, wow, I really, really want to do that. And a friend of mine, a guitar player, he told me, hey, I'm going to try this conservatory in Groningen. Maybe you want to join me. I thought, no way anyone would take me to a conservatory. But I thought, wow, great, let's go.
So you took the
great adventure. Yeah, we just went to Groningen.
You all say there's something to the instrument, that sound-wise, and Guus as a toddler playing with the pedals, and you were all over the keyboard for days on end. And then your parents decided, like, okay, let's put.
Well, I have to say, Willem Breuker was very important to me, because he was at our high school when I was 14, I think, doing a school concert, and this was really interesting.
Mind blowing,
yeah.
I had the same thing.
Yeah.
School concerts.
I remember Willem Breuker also. Yeah, but and he would come with Micha, but Micha was ill, and then he came with Rob Dubois. It was a Dutch composer, lawyer too.
Yeah.
I played in Bergen, but that was, especially Breuker, was mind-blowing. But also Micha, I heard Micha Mengelberg in 1963 in Haarlem with Piet Noordijk. And Micha's solo was nothing more than, he went under the piano and there was, wat is een rotje in het Engels?
A little firework,
a little firework.
Yeah.
It makes a big bang.
And then he went back to the keyboard, and that was his solo. Then came the bass solo.
Yeah.
And that was like, if you are a boy of, I think I was 12 years old. It's like,
It's very
I
inspiring.
was playing classical piano, also doing my own things. But that was something else,
Dat is wel heel erg je eigen ding.
Yeah.
Do you have like concerts in your teens or something like, or early on that you thought like, wow, that changed my life?
In the teens, I can't think of anything right now, but I remember the first time I saw Toby Delius.
The first time you saw Toby Delius.
Yeah.
So Toby
Was
Delius
the
is taking on Willem Breuker's role these days.
Really, it was on the Zomer Jazz Fits tour. It was my first. I was still studying, and I came to see. And it was a little church in one of these little churches.
Toby was doing these duos with drummers. Or
It was a trio.
with
Cor Fuhler.
Cor?
Yeah, must have been.
No.
No, it was bass and drums and him.
Okay.
I don't know who was.
You don't know who the other one. But Toby,
It
you
was
remember.
completely for me like another world, and I just saw him, and I thought he was just making the sounds driven by his body.
Yeah.
Like his body was moving and the saxophone was making noise. I thought it was fantastic. I was really wow. Right, and these beautiful melodies, of course, and phrasing, but all the sounds were like this sticks in the body.
You're not allowed to play on this piano concerts here, are you? Either of you?
Is
Are
this-
you?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, but not. I don't play inside.
That you don't play aside.
I don't prepare it.
You don't.
No,
I think if you don't.
I'm very polite to this piano.
Yeah.
You helped getting it, right?
You picked it.
Oh, yeah.
You picked it. You may not
But you're
play it.
I
full.
was in Hamburg with Bert van der Brink. Yeah.
Yes.
Steinway. Yeah, Steinway Factory.
Steinway.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Yeah.
Lovely place to be.
It's a Valhalla of
Yes, it was.
the pianist
We were
heaven.
3 piano players there, and
Yeah.
a lot of noise.
But I like bad pianos very much.
You like the bad piano.
I like bad piano. I was on tour with ICP in the United States 3 years ago. And
Only bad piano.
there were amazing bad pianos. And with titles, with names that I never found.
Baldwin and these.
No, yeah, but no other names. I made photos of it, but because I was every night there was another piano, and it seems that they all probably it were German names but old. It's like people who fled, who left Germany in the start of the 20th century, and they
used
started
their
a factory.
pianos to
Something like that.
Yeah, all the musicians.
And really
not
bad
as good
pianos
as when they left.
And that gives so nice other chances to.
Yes, I think that for piano players, something that you need to love. That you have another instrument every night.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if Michiel Borslap he brings his own piano or brings his own technician, that he has the same sound every evening. That's something, of course, that's an opinion you can have. But for me, that totally doesn't work. It takes out a lot of the fun for me.
Yeah,
I had a very specific experience is watching a concert of Cor Fuhler that I'd like to share, because I really also like the bad pianos in the sense that they allow you to be a bit more rough, maybe with the interiors. So it's kind of like this piano is so good. Yeah. You don't wanna you only wanna play the keys probably, because the things you do inside, they do have consequence, and people are sometimes a bit hysterical with it in the sense that you can change the strings. A guitar player changes the strings. If you have to change the strings of a piano after 10 years, it's not the end of the world, but still, if you touch them, it has some consequences. So there is this. After a while, you become this two instrumentalists. You become the piano player that can play on the keys, and you become the piano player that can play inside. Marta even sits on the floor often when you have when you have an upright, which is a great place to be there at the harp, and fantastic. But it starts to become the further you explore both, the bigger the gap becomes. Mm-hmm. So if you get very virtuoso here, you can play Mozart and you can transpose it into a different key, and there your sonoric possibilities, they become endless and so rich. You have at least 15 instruments at your disposal. You have a great drum, a percussion, a harp. If you, like Nora Mulder does a lot, use the hair of a double bass bow. You can even be a string player inside. Well, Guus opened up the pedal, so you can be a singer with extra reverb. It's endless. But the further you go in both directions, the harder it is to translate from one to the other. It becomes this huge gap to jump, and it's very hard to combine them.
Yeah, that's what lots of musicians struggle with.
Yes.
And why did you mention?
Cor for me during one concert,
able to do that.
He really solved the problem, because and the problem is there in harp even more. Like for instance, where you have the diatonic thing and then you have the upstart world. So it's in lots of instruments. It's there. What he did is take out all the virtuosity of the playing on the keys. So this way that if you once played a key in a certain way, the next time you do it exactly the same. You treat it like it's a sample, like it's a bell. So that C up there, the high C, if I play it, it will always be fortissimo in staccato, and I will only play it that way. He made it super not virtuoso. And at the same time, he started to try to play as melodic, as music-like on the inside. So there you get little melodies on a harp that you don't know the origin of, because he taped the keys, and there it sounds ding tong ding ding tang tong tang, and then here's this clunk, and then this huge bridge, it becomes a spectrum. Because the inside becomes more virtuoso than the key playing, and from then on that was like whoop. Now it's one instrument, and I think that's great. It was a great lesson just in a concert at the Doek Festival. It's like
when there's a piano solo, it's like whoa. There's always something happening. There's this how you say that? It's very secure. You're very sure of yourself. It's full of confidence. It's powerful. I listened to Guus's harpsichord record, for instance, and it's all about. And it swings like mad. And so do you. And
I surpassed myself.
You surpassed yourself. I was at that concert, by the way. It was great. And then the record was. I play that record lots too. When guests come and they go like and then I put that on. I remember my American friends from Chicago playing that record. Since then, they play one bar. Anyway. But but you all find, well, it's in the keyboards. But what you're saying,
that's what I remember
the inside of the piano.
What I remember from my teacher, Spaanderman, in the classical way. I had to play Voile, which is a prelude, Debussy prelude. And he was always, he even wrote it in the score, like this is a bassoon. And here is a stopped, muted trumpet. This is the strings. And you only play the piano.
You have all these.
You think of all these.
You think of all the colors.
Colors and rolls also.
Sorry.
And rolls also, all the rolls. You have all the rolls in it. It's very accessible. I think, of course, you as a trumpet player can also do backings, etc. But my thesis during my conservatory studies was about Duke Ellington in small lineups. So I compared Duke Ellington solo with duos with Jimmy Blanton, or the trios and quartets with Coltrane, etc. And I compared them to what he was doing in the bigger groups. And he just left out more if he was playing in the bigger group. So he did everything or less. And then that was interesting.
The larger the group, the less note he used.
Yes, exactly.
Because he left the colors.
And in the end, he was only smiling.
He was only smiling.
Thank you very much, Michiel, Oscar, Jan, Marta, Guus, for joining me at this table. And good. Musicians do talk.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not too much.
Cheers.